What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now in this episode I'll be working on the oil feed and oil return. I think it's gonna be pretty straightforward except for one little detail. This little thing right here needs to get welded into the oil pan. So that means removing the oil pan, or at least lifting up the car, removing the oil pan, and go through that big hassle. So I think that might be in a different day, but for the most part today, gonna mock up everything so you know I have the right length and all that good stuff. So let's talk parts, and these are all the lines that I'm gonna need. So basically, let's start with this one. This is your feed, that's 4 AN. This is your drain, going to 12 AN. I know most people run 10s, and if you don't have any kink or anything, 10 should be plenty. I like to go a little bit bigger, just peace of mind. 12 AN allows you to basically evacuate the oil out of the turbo a lot faster. Then I'm using a T because I only have this thing right here for feed. This one, to be honest, gets me a little bit worried. I mean, if you think about it, that's a lot of oil out of the engine. Like, I don't know, through the 4 turbos, this is kind of concerning. And these are all the push lock fitting. I mean, I'm going with push lock instead of braided, just it's a little bit easier to work with. And of course, you have the pre-made one. So with this one, the downside of having something pre-made is, one, if you don't pay the extra price, which means like you basically tell them I want 53 inches, and then they'll give you exactly 53. If you don't pay the price, you get you basically almost get in by the foot. They make him only by the foot, so you'll either have excess or it'll be too short. So hopefully you went for excess and tuck it in somewhere. I went with the pre-made one instead of building my own. It's because I just don't have the time right now to basically source out all the fittings and research all the other stuff I need, and then at the end spend all the time trying to make a fitting. Okay, so I'm just going with that. Eventually you'll probably get a different one, like a free-made but specific length, but for now that will work. So I'm gonna go start with this. I'm gonna need the 2 fittings. So this piece right here, just like that, it's gonna go right there. So here it is mounted, and I didn't show you guys that part. It's a little hard to show you guys with this angle right here. But now I'm gonna go ahead and route the oil feed lines. Alright, so here it is mounted. This one right here needs to get tucked in a little bit better, but for the most part I know at least the length is correct, because this works, those 2 right there works, and I think it's time to finally start on the drill. Alright, so that's how that's gonna look. You'll have the front turbo like this, the back turbo like that. The only thing really left to do is figure out how long I want the lines to be. So I'm gonna start with the front because they're the easiest to do. So I can't weld this for now because the fan is still installed. So then I'll probably just go ahead and mark where I want this to go and measure the hose. I don't really like doing it this way because without this being permanently mounted, I could be off by, I don't know, millimeters, inches, and whatnot. But to me, this should be a pretty easy thing to work with. And if I made a mistake on this, I guess I'll have to buy a new one. Intercooler's out. All that random stuff in here is out. It's now supported in engine hoist. And I'm ready to begin to attempt to remove the oil pan. So here's what we're looking at. I think if I can just raise it a couple of inches, I can probably snake it out, like kind of bend it out this, not bend, but like get it in between that, and hopefully I can take it out like that. Otherwise, the only way I could see it happening is dropping the whole subframe and my mount right here. Basically the whole thing has to drop down, and that's just too much work. Alright, so there is a light at the end of this tunnel. I was able to take out the brace by lowering those two things right there, and I think I can finally access the oil pan. So I forgot that I put oil in there already. What a waste. But the good part is it looks like it's only stuck on the very back right there. It's kind of hitting the crank or the cover. So I think if I could move this down a little bit, it'll probably come right out. Alright, so got it out. A little bit of a trouble there, but I got it out, so now it's finally time to start drilling and putting in the weld bung. Alright, so I couldn't figure out how to weld this top part right here. So what I actually did is I welded the opposite side. I welded it in here. I'm not sure if you're supposed to weld it out there or not. I don't think it really matters. But this side is definitely a lot easier. And as you can see here, this one's unwelded. That's an easy way to weld versus trying to get that. Also, a quick tip. Make sure that your oil drain is above your oil. You guys can see that right there. This is my low point. My high point would have been somewhere around here. So that's going to be a lot higher than my oil. Now before I install that, I'm going to go ahead and try the gasket. Just want to make sure that there's enough coverage on the gasket, as well as want to make sure it actually fits. Now if you pay attention there, the gasket is actually a lot bigger hole than the turbo, but that's because this thing right here actually matched the gasket, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and put that in place. Now I like to tie in the drain before I put it on, because you don't always get the space that you need to be able to tighten this at the bottom. So what I do is I basically tighten it as much as I can, and then I kind of slip it back like this into the housing, right? And then I tighten it some more. And then what you want to do is get a level. I'm just using my phone as a level. I basically calibrate it to be straight. And all I'm going to do here is make sure that this part of the turbo right here is basically as horizontal as possible. There you go. 0.1. That's close enough. I mean, you're gonna have some movements in the car anyway, so as close as you can to 0, that'll be great. Alright, so I also put the oil lines back in place. That's what that basically looks like. To the feed for the driver's side, just comes up like this and into the turbo, and for the passenger side, they just go to the side like this. Now I'm not sure if I want to put a bracket here. I mean, I could easily design one there, but what I'm going to do at this point is actually put back the intercooler piping, put back the intercooler, just to make sure, you know, I want to make sure where the clearance is. And so here's where we stand with this thing. I made this for the passenger side back turbo. It was literally about an inch too short. Thought I measured it, but I guess I didn't do a good job. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to actually use it for the driver's side back turbo. Okay, so it's not going to go completely to waste, but it kind of sucks that it did all the work already. Now I do have about, I don't know, a couple feet, or like, I don't know, 3-4 feet left. So if I do manage to mess that one up again, I have one more try without having to buy new materials. Now the downside to this though is I can't finish the back one because I don't have enough clearance there to use the 45. So I'm gonna have to go buy or order a 60-degree fitting just for this one, or maybe a 90. Maybe I'll buy both, that way I don't have to wait again. But on the front side of the driver's side, that looks pretty much complete. You guys can see right there, and it's a straight shot all the way to the pan. Everything on the right side is higher than the left, so that is good. That means I'll get enough flow that way. Kind of a little bit complicated. I don't really like how I did this one, but I think it'll work. There's a starter right on that side, so I couldn't really plumb it that way, so I had to go to the front a little bit, which kind of has me worried considering, you know, when you accelerate and all that stuff. But we will see. Hopefully it doesn't become a problem. I mean, everything on the left side here is higher than towards the pan, so in theory it should work, but yeah. Alright, so that completes this episode. 3 turbos are done. This one just needs an oil drain, which I'm not going to show in the video because it's just one thing that's missing. So I'm going to go ahead and do that offline. Yeah, I mean, I think it looks pretty good. Just concerned about that turbo, but at this point it's kind of too late, so we'll just run with that and see how that goes. Alright, so that is it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.